Y'all ready to go? Yeah, I'm not either, yeah. So I've been sick the last 2 weeks, so this is really exciting because normally I'd be standing or I'd have like Brandon maybe pick me up and body slam me. Today, that would not go well. Last week we had this whole plan with the game that we were going to do, and I was going to be on stage crying and vomiting. It was going to be incredible, and instead I was at home crying and vomiting. And so you guys got to miss out on all the fun. But very excited to finally be able to leave my house and be awake for the first time in 2 weeks. And we've made it to the end of 2025, which is just, I'm at that age where it is just concerning how fast every year just disappears, and just count the days of like, wow, my kids are getting older and they're going to graduate soon. Like, where is my life going? And any time a year ends, you just have all those reflective thoughts. And kind of on that point, today's talk is a little bit one of those looking back kind of talks and thinking, do I like where I'm at and the paths that I am on? And then next week, Chris Habe, if he's no longer sick, because he too is sick, he'll be up here and kind of doing kind of a workshop follow-up to what I'm talking about this week. But I'm going to kick things off with a story, and this is one of my greatest hit stories. So those of you that have been around for a while, you've already heard this story before. If you stick around for any amount of time, I'm sure you'll hear me tell it again. But back when I was in college, one of my friends was going to a university in Dallas, and I went to go visit this person over the weekend, and then was coming back. And this is the year 2000, so I was still a teenager at the time, and not the brightest of teenagers, relatively new to driving. And in the year 2000, you didn't have phones with GPS devices. There were GPS things you could buy, but they were very expensive. And so this is back in the day where you actually had to get directions from people or use a map to get where you're going. But luckily, the directions from Dallas to Austin are quite simple. Take I-35 is one thing. You do one thing to get from Dallas to Austin, I-35. So I'm not the brightest person, but I can remember take I-35. So it is late on a Sunday night. I've got to work the next day at my job at Chick-fil-A. I have to open. It's 6 in the morning. It's after midnight. It's a 3-hour drive. So I'm not going to get any sleep on this particular night. But it's a simple drive. Get onto I-35, start heading home, driving down the road, listening to my favorite album of the time, Blue Album from Weezer, singing along to the Sweater Song very loudly, looking at the signs and the upcoming cities, and it said we're about 90 miles away from Oklahoma City, so I'm just driving down I-35 as quick as I can to get back to my home in Austin. Now we're just 60 miles away from Oklahoma City, and very excited to get home, singing along. We're on round 2 of the album, driving right along, see a big gigantic sign. This sign says something similar to what the last few signs have said. This one is just a little bit different. This one says, "Welcome to Oklahoma, the state." And I paused for a second and hey, wait a minute. I'm not great at geography, but I'm pretty sure that Oklahoma, the state, is not in the middle of Texas between Dallas and Austin. Now, you would have thought the sign saying you're headed towards Oklahoma City also would have been a warning sign, because there's not an Oklahoma City, Texas between Dallas and Austin. But it occurs to me, I've been going in the wrong direction. It doesn't matter that I need to get to work by 6 in the morning. It doesn't matter that I want to get some sleep tonight. It doesn't matter that, I only want to listen to this album 6 times and not 12 times on this given night. It doesn't matter any of my intentions. I have been driving in the wrong direction. So I pull into a gas station and call my mom at like 2 in the morning. Mom, I'm in Oklahoma. John, what are you doing in Oklahoma? Well, I got the directions wrong. I did take I-35, but somehow I did it wrong and I went the wrong direction. How do I get back? Well, you change your direction and just go the other way on the road. Oh, good thinking, Mom. So I turn around, have to drive back. Now I've been going an hour in the wrong direction. Now I've changed direction, heading the right way, back towards Texas and Waco and then Austin. So get home at 5:55 or get home at 5:30, just in time to change clothes, drive to work, and, took a little nap while driving back, used the cruise control as one does responsibly, and finally made it to work where I worked off of no sleep whatsoever. So what's the point of this story? It does not matter how much I wanted to get home, what my intentions were. What mattered was the direction that I was going. Big principle for today: your direction, not your intention, determines your destination. Such a very simple principle when it comes to driving. And like if you want to go to Mexico and you bought a English to Spanish dictionary because you don't use your phone, because I'm still back in the year 2000. You told all your friends you're going to Mexico. You put in a prayer request for safe travel. You booked a hotel, and then you drive north. Doesn't matter how long you drive, you will not make it to Mexico, because your direction, not your intention, determines your destination. We so completely understand this when it comes to geography. But it's equally true when it just comes to your life. When it comes to your friendships, your dating life, your career plans, your character development. It's always your direction, where you're actually heading, not your intentions, not your hopes, not your dreams, not your prayers, not your beliefs. Ultimately, it's the direction that you are heading. It's like such a basic principle. But constantly in life, we're surprised when life doesn't just do exactly what we want it to do just because we hoped so. For me, I was kind of like completely lost in life for most of my, pretty much up until yesterday. Yesterday, I think I figured out life. But like in high school, I was not in any way thinking about the future, but I intended to go to college after high school. And so I graduated, and I had not applied to any colleges. Not community college. I hadn't thought really about colleges. I'd put no thought planning into going to college. So when I graduated high school, where do you think I went to college right out of high school? Nowhere, because it doesn't matter that I intended to do that. You actually have to apply to college, even community college, if you want to get in. And so it was like I literally graduated. It was like, oh, I needed to actually do something. I actually had to head in a direction. And so I literally missed a semester purely because I had not done anything. I hadn't thought ahead. And it's such common sense. It's so basic. But all of us continually have these little ways in which we think our intentions, our hopes, our dreams will determine where we end up rather than our actual direction. And so often there's warning signs about all of this. Proverbs 14:12 says, "There is a way that appears right, but in the end it leads to death." Proverbs is a book just filled with wisdom. And there's this way in which in the moment we make choices which seem like, yeah, this is a good idea, but actually ends up somewhere really, really, really bad. And you can just go through life and use the most basic of things. No one plans to get into a car accident. No one is sitting there like, I'm going to fall asleep at the wheel and go off the road. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start driving with my knees and texting so that I'll go off the road. Nobody plans that. But what happens is you ignore all the warning signs. Like, it's fun to drive over the speed limit. It would be really funny to drive my truck around that curve really fast. Oh, I've got a text and I've got to respond to it right now. And so you're looking at your phone. In the moment, I'm just responding to a text. It's fun to drive fast. Well, I was distracted. I was watching a TV show while driving. Like all these things that we do that seems like a good idea at the moment. You're not planning on getting in a car accident. But what happens when you drive speeding and you're staring at your phone? You get into a car accident. Nobody sets out and plans I am going to fail my test. You don't plan to do that. You just don't plan not to. I remember when I was in Bible college, and there's this one guy that we had our first test of introduction Old Testament. It was on Genesis. It was pretty straightforward stuff. If you spent time in church world, you can probably get this one right. Adam and Eve, the arc, basic stuff, and he got a 38 on the test. He's just like in shock. Like, how did I get a 38 on this test? And I replayed the last couple of weeks, and it was like every time I saw him, he was sleeping in class. He was at the colleges, they normally have like rec rooms, and so all of a sudden there's like fun games that you don't normally have access to at your home. And so there was like a place where you could play pool for free at the college. And so he was playing pool. I was like, this is amazing. It's free. I've never had so much fun. So he's playing pool. He's watching TV because no one was monitoring. His parents weren't there taking care of him. Next thing you know, he gets a 38 on his Old Testament test. He's shocked. Well, you didn't study. What was your actual direction? Direction was sleep during class, watch TV instead of studying, going to rec room, everything except preparing to get a good grade on your test. And it's what direction are you headed in? Where will it actually lead you? Well, one time I was it was actually during boot camp. We were doing Bible clubs. And so playing games with kids. And back in the day, we had really fun games. Really fun games are also really irresponsible, dangerous games. So we didn't want to hurt any kids. We just wanted to have a good time. We were playing Red Rover, which is great. And so we're playing Red Rover, and if you haven't played this amazing game, pretty much all games back in the day were based off of might and hurting people. But you'd have two lines of people, and you'd hold hands as hard as you can, and then you'd charge at the other people's wrists as fast as you could, with the intention to break through it or not break through it. So in one situation, you're ramming into people with as much force as possible to rip hands open, which can hurt someone. Or they're holding so tightly that someone runs full speed ahead into your arm and stops like a brick wall, in which case they get hurt. So we're playing this game, and I'm pretty sure we'd gotten instructions right before this from, actually, Ellie's dad, not to do irresponsible things like this. So also there was like this looming danger that we're going to get yelled at by her dad. He's an intense guy. You don't want him mad at you. But we wanted to have fun. He told us to have fun. Other detail, we were playing in front of a row of cars. So, but the good news is the row of cars would stop the kids from running into the street. It's like a wall. So kids are running as fast as they can towards our arms, and right here is a row of cars. The reason you're already giggling is because you can start to piece together what will happen. Any number of scenarios that are all bad. And what happened was probably more extreme and weirder than you're even thinking. So we're doing this, holding our wrists as tightly as I can, and the cutest little kid on the other team, also the smallest kid on the other team, runs towards us. Now, we're tall, and he's short. And so normally when you run, if you're the same height, you get hit right here in the chest. This was a little bit better, though. This was way more fun, because he was shorter, so the arm now goes up right up to his neck. So this little kid runs as fast as he can towards us and towards a row of cars. We're like this. He runs, clotheslines his throat. It was amazing. It was like the physics of this were incredible. He goes from upright to from full-blown vertical to full-blown horizontal, because it's like it was just hit him at the top. So his feet keep going forward and his head starts going backwards, and he starts to go under the car. But he's trying to figure out where he's going. So he goes, oh, he looks up. When he looks up, that means there's a car there. So his face smacks straight into the car, and he falls over and dies. And a little ghost of his body starts to rise up, and all of us leaders look at each other and we go, we're going to jail. More importantly, Ellie's dad is going to yell at us because he does not want us to kill children at these clubs. Luckily, the ghost returns to the body, the kid hops up, and we're like, what is about to happen in this moment of my life? And he's not hurt, he's just embarrassed in front of all the big kids that he didn't break through our line. He's like, we got you! And he's like, oh. And all the leaders are like,
This was about to be a lawsuit. This is about, like, we almost ruined our entire lives because we were playing Red Rover in front of a row of cars with kids that are not the same size. This is the dumbest thing we've ever done. So we kept playing. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And hopefully Ellie won't tell her dad this story, because up to this point he hasn't heard this story and yelled at me about it, and it's been over 20 years at this point in time. But when I say this, like, you see the story, and the warning signs are everywhere. Everything about this was a bad idea. You hear details and you giggle in advance because you know exactly how stupid of an idea it is. But it doesn't matter that we only wanted to have fun. What mattered was we were in front of a row of cars, and the kid's literal direction was towards a row of cars. He was running towards cars. What did you think was what did I think was gonna happen? An amazing story that I've been using for 20 years in sermon illustrations, so it was used for God's glory. Anyway, but your direction, sometimes your literal direction, determines your destination, in his case, under the car, not your intention. So obvious. With geography so obvious running at cars, but it's equally true with the choices that you make day after day. And it says in the Proverbs 14 again, there is a way that appears right. To us as individuals, in the moment, we just see the fun part. Sometimes literally a fun game. Sometimes you're lonely and there's a boyfriend, there's a girlfriend. I cheat on the test, I'll get a good grade. In the moment, we see the temptation. We don't see the path that we're getting on. We don't see the destination. If we'd been thinking in that moment, yeah, Kill could run into the car, like, we wouldn't have done it. We would have stopped beforehand. We just see the positives. We get blinded to the truth. And so often, it's wise to have other people around us that can point out the errors of our ways, because we don't see the destination. We just see the temptation in the moment. I'm gonna play a video for you in just a second. And it's gonna play the first 10 seconds of it, and then it's gonna pause. And it's kind of a video involving like a flame, a torch. And when it pauses, it'll have a countdown on the screen. Just say it literally out loud. What do you think is going to happen next in the video? Like I said, it's a guy with like a stick, and he's got a towel on the end of it, and it's like a torch. What do you think is going to happen next in the video? Go for it. What will happen next? It's going to hit the camera guy. What's your guess? Anyone else? Other guesses? Going to catch on fire. Let's see. What is going to happen? You are correct. All right. Important detail I left out of the story before setting it up. I was the cameraman in that video, so it was me that got hit in the face on a fireball. And also, fun fact, this is the original video on my YouTube channel. This is the very first one if you look at the oldest video. But yeah, so as it turns out, when I was 20 years old, my friends and I were remarkably stupid. But I was not the dumbest person in the group. Maybe that was this guy right here. The worst part about this happened after we had a bucket of gasoline that we lit on fire, and that guy hit it with an axe. And so liquid, as it turns out, when you chop it, pours. Flaming gasoline pours. So he chopped a bucket of gasoline on my lawn, and it just spread gasoline that was on fire all over my lawn. So my mom's lawn caught on fire. Luckily, we had a gigantic 30 by 30 square of carpet, so we were able to stop him from burning down my mother's. Actually, I mean, it probably would have been like a huge news story that we'd be telling. This happened after that, so he was great. He was very safe to be around. He did not cause danger. Why do I say all this? Other people can see where see the path that you're on. When I say there was a bucket of gasoline and he lifted the axe to hit it, everyone went, oh no, he's going to light the yard on fire. I show you a video of a guy swinging back like this. She immediately goes, the cameraman's going to get hit with the fireball. Other people can see the destination so often than we can. If he was like, I bet in this moment I'm going to hit Sean in the face with a fireball. And this is when I had beautiful long hair. When you have beautiful long hair and you get hit with a fireball in the face, your hair catches on fire and you lose some of your beautiful long hair. But other people can see where the paths lead. And every single youth leader in this room, we could tell you story after story of people that we've known that started dating someone, they started making certain choices, a friend, a family member, that they started heading down a path and everyone around them was like, oh no, and maybe warned them, told them not to, and they did it anyway, and horrible things happened. Every single one of the youth leaders in this room can just non-stop stories. And it's normally, you can even hear some of it, you get tense thinking about it because it's so heartbreaking to have someone close to you that starts heading in a direction and you know where it leads and they ignore every single warning sign. So like a simple thing, like your parents, one of the reasons that they keep telling you not to do things or they warn you about the friends that you hang out with is because they can see where that path leads. Or if you're not studying or staying up late, like, hey, you actually need to get some sleep. Your parents were your age once. I was your age once. We know where these paths lead. Sometimes we're overprotective, sometimes we make mistakes, sometimes we're foolish, but we know where the path leads, and we're trying to stop you from making bad choices. It's real obvious with little kids and toddlers when they get the paper clip and they start putting it in the outlet, and the parent's like, that's a bad idea. It's not because they want to stop the kid from having fun, because it's fun to play with electricity. It's because they want to stop the kid from dying. Like they know where this leads, electrocution. But that's equally true when you're a teenager, that your parents know where certain paths lead. We've been there, we've made those mistakes, and so we want to stop you from making some of those mistakes. Likewise, one of the whole reasons that we have a youth ministry with a bunch of youth leaders is because we want to put second adult voices in your life. Ideally, saying the same things that your parents are saying to you. Have a second voice of, once again, youth leaders that they've gone down these paths. They've seen other people go down these paths, and they can tell you where certain paths and directions lead to stop you from getting into trouble. A lot of times stop you from making the mistakes that we've made, the people around us have made, and we want to help you get on the right paths to get to the right destinations and head in the right directions. Likewise, why do we do D groups? Another reason is to put you with other people that are your peers, that are currently on the same paths as you, that hopefully right there in the trenches of middle school, high school, VR chat rooms, wherever you hang out, they're right there with you and hopefully helping you get on better paths and head in better directions. We got a retreat coming up. One of the huge things of why we want you to go on the retreats is to build relationships with each other, with leaders, and create contexts where you're doing life together. And when you do life together, you protect each other from going in bad directions and help each other to go in good directions. So that's the cliche of the parent that is so worried about who you're friends with, because we know your friends shift the direction that you head. They pull you in directions, good directions and bad directions. And there. Finally, one cough. It took me this long to cough. I'm actually doing quite well. Quick question. If you look at your life, you can take this direction wherever it makes sense for your life right now. If I keep going down the paths I'm currently going down, if I keep going down this path, will it take me where I want to be? If you look at the choices you are making right now, this past year, if you keep going, friends, dating life, prioritizing your time, what you're entertained by, if I keep going, will it take me where I want to be? That'll kind of lead us into our next verse, Galatians chapter 6, verse 7 through 8. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. So this is farming language. Most of us aren't farming people, but the simple concept, you reap what you sow. So when we use that word, we're talking about throwing out seed. If you plant apple seed, what do you get? If you plant pumpkin seed, what do you get? Some of you are doing really well on this test. Some of you, I'm concerned about your answers, but apple seed leads to apples. Pumpkin seed leads to pumpkins. Like, whatever you sow, whatever you plant, that is what you will get. And so just look at your own life and the character qualities that you've been developing in yourself, the choices that you've been making. If you've been making wise choices, that leads to a life of nicely structured. If you've been an utter fool, living in utter chaos, you lead to a life of chaos. If you're throwing out generosity into the world, sowing generosity, what does that turn you into? What does that grow in your life if you're a generous person? Versus if you're a selfish person, what does that grow? So just look what you're seeping. And a pretty famous phrase, you reap what you sow, you reap more than you sow, and you reap later than you sow. The choices that you make right now have consequences down the line because it's a path. It leads to a destination. It's not just about the moment. It's not just right now. The choices you make right now are a path. I'm just hanging out with these people. Well, and all of a sudden that becomes your friend group, and all of a sudden they become an influence on you, and that shapes your character. Was that a good thing or is that a bad thing? It's not just a moment. It's a path. Your choices lead to a destination. So what direction are you headed in? What are you sowing with your life? Are you developing something that will turn you into someone you want to be? Someone that you'd be proud to be, that your parents would be proud of, that's a disciple of Christ, or something else? And one more principle, the longer you go down a path, the harder it is to come back. Or the longer you go down the wrong path, the harder it is to come back. Going back to my trip to Oklahoma, the first time I saw a sign for Oklahoma City was right side out of Dallas. I went like 10, 15 minutes in the wrong direction. It takes 10, 15 minutes to go back. I ignored the sign, and I went for like an hour in the wrong direction. So it took an hour to get back. That's the same sort of thing in your life. If you go really, really deep into a really toxic relationship with someone, if you get into a friend group that is really dangerous and making really bad choices that influence you in really bad ways, the further, the deeper you get into that, the harder it is to come back. We have a God of redemption and grace. You can turn back. That's what the whole Bible is about. Second chances, grace, redemption, absolutely. But the further you go down the path, the more bad choices you make with those people, with that girlfriend, with whatever it is, with cheating, whatever it is, the further you go down the path, the harder it is to come back because you've gone further down the path. Same way it works with the geography, the same way it works with life and wisdom. And if you make wise choices, you build a life of wisdom. Your direction, not your intention, determines your destination. One kind of negative principle or negative version of this, sin will take you further than you want to go, keep you longer than you want to stay, and cost you more than you want to pay. Those choices that you make, you think it's one moment, but it's a path, and it has consequences. That's why your parents keep warning you. That's why your youth leaders keep warning you. That's why we do these sermons. All of this is to try and help you go in the right direction. So, as we kind of try and turn it around in the positive direction, looking at a new year, let's just kind of go, so are you happy with where you're at right now? Are you happy with the path that you're on? Or do you need to change direction? Like, where do you want to be? Proverbs 4:25 through 27 says, let your eyes look straight ahead, fix your gaze directly before you, give careful thought to the paths for your feet, be steadfast in all your ways, do not turn to the right or to the left, keep your foot from evil. 3 questions to close out today. Who do you want to be at the end of 2026? Not what do you want to do at the end of 2026. Who do you want to be? Who? Character. That disciple of Christ. What does that look like? Who is the person? When people describe your character, your reputation, who do you want to be? And think, a year from now, where do you want to grow in your relationship with God? Okay, question 2, what direction do you need to head in to get there? What are the choices that you need to make if you want to be that person? If you want to grow in your relationship with Christ, if you want to be a more generous, kinder person, what choices today, what direction today do you need to head in? What do you need to make happen now so you can be that person a year from now? And that's daily, weekly, monthly. How do you need to reprioritize your life a little bit to make sure, if I want to grow closer to God, I need to be able to be in a D group, and I haven't been able to do that before. What do I need to change in my priorities to make that happen? Okay, with D group, what do I need to actually do each week to get the most out of it to grow? Think, what do I need to do if that's who I want to be? And then question 3, where are the disconnects between your desired destination and your direction? So what do you mean by this is you say, where are those things I want to love Jesus with all my heart, but I prioritize everything on my schedule over anything church related or God related. So everything comes before Jesus. Jesus is my top priority, but also on my schedule, I don't have time for him. That's a disconnect. I want to love Jesus with all my heart, but I'm filling my brain with a bunch of nonsense that makes me think and do things that are not good. That's a disconnect. I want to have a healthy, loving relationship, but I'll say yes to any guy that asks me out because I want attention. There's a disconnect there. So you're trying to think, how do you remove the disconnects? And sometimes, disconnects sometimes are easy on certain areas. There's this documentary that came out, and this is just an illustration example of the concept, but this documentary that came out 20 years ago called Super Size Me, about McDonald's. And anyway, there's a specific section in it where there's someone that's about to go in to have gastric bypass surgery because they're unhealthily way overweight. And in it, they start talking about how they've done everything possible to try and lose weight. And their last ditch effort is to have this surgery. And then it kind of cuts to the person holding a 64-ounce, this gigantic cup that's huge. And they have this whole conversation oh man, I just love Coke. I probably drink 4 liters of Coke every single day. And I understand there's imbalances, there's health issues, there are complexities to weight, things like this. But it was a person that's literally sitting here I drink 4 liters of soda every day, but there's nothing I can do to lose weight. And you immediately go, wait a minute, there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between obviously drinking that much chemical sugar water is connected to this other thing. Where are those disconnects between who you want to be and what you are actually doing, what you are actually prioritizing? And you find those in your life. Who do you want to be? What do you need to do? And where are the disconnects? Or maybe another way to phrase it, what do you need to stop doing? Ephesians 5:15-16 says, be very careful then how you live. Are you being careful? Most of us aren't. We're just going through life, doing what feels right in the moment. We're not being careful. Not as the unwise, but as the wise, making the most of every opportunity. We started this thing off talking about how 2025 just disappeared. All the opportunity of 2025 is almost gone. You got to go. You got a new year. This year is an opportunity for you to grow in your love for Jesus, your character, to make a difference for him. It's every year, every day, every week is an opportunity. But what direction are you headed in? What goal are you shooting for? What are you aiming for? What direction are you heading in? One final story before we close it out. I played sports growing up, but I was never particularly good at most of them. In particular, basketball. I'm tall, and so under the basket, I'm pretty useful. In youth group basketball, you put me under the basket, I'm really helpful for a team. You put me anywhere backwards, I can't shoot at all. There's one time, though. One time, I made an awesome three-pointer. The one great shot I ever made, and we're playing, and the ball was getting passed around. I jump up, use my height, catch the ball. People are fighting me for it. Grab the ball, get an open moment, and I realize the goal, I can get through. And I jump up. I am behind the three-point line, shoot it. It is just this beautiful arc, just unbelievable. And it was so beautiful, a rainbow formed behind the ball. And it was like a star formed behind it, and it went to the basket, it swished, full-blown swish. And I fall down. The one time in my life I have made a three-pointer, and it was perfect form. I got the rebound, got the ball, I made it through. Goal. It's just one problem. I was on the wrong side of the court. I was on their side. I was so excited about getting the ball finally, so excited, I wasn't even paying attention to what side of the court I was on. So the best shot I ever made in an official game of basketball, the three-pointer I made, was into the wrong goal. The perfect shot to the wrong goal. Look at your last year of your life. What goals were you shooting at? What baskets were you shooting at? And look at this next year. Shoot for the right goals. Have the right priorities. Head in the right directions, because it's your direction, not your intention, that determines your destination. Let's pray.